My dear children of light, may I speak to your soul directly today? In this quiet moment between us, I ask permission to share what has been revealed to me through decades of walking between worlds, of sitting with the suffering, and witnessing the invisible threads that bind human destiny. For 70 years I have observed patterns that medical science cannot explain, forces that psychology dare not name, and healings that occur when ancient wisdom meets desperate faith. If you have found your way to these words, if something within you stirred when you saw this message, then you are among those who carry a particular weight. You know what I speak of, that inexplicable heaviness that follows certain bloodlines, those recurring patterns of loss that seem to hunt your family like shadows with memory. Perhaps you have watched opportunities slip through your fingers like water, felt invisible barriers rise just as success approaches, or witnessed the same destructive cycles repeat in your children that tormented your parents and their parents before them. Listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal exists in the space where the physical body holds spiritual truth. Your navel, that small forgotten scar at your center, is not merely the remnant of your birth. It is humanity's first sacred portal, the original doorway through which not only life entered, but through which blessing or burden first took root in your being. Modern medicine sees only tissue. Ancient knowing recognizes the eternal gateway. For too long we have ignored this sacred center while searching for healing in our heads, in our hearts, in our hands raised to distant heavens. But the truth has been resting quietly at your very core, waiting. Your navel holds the energetic memory of your first connection, not just to your earthly mother, but to the source of all life itself. And just as poisons can travel through that original umbilical cord, so too can curses, generational wounds, and inherited spiritual blockages take root in this sacred space. But here is what will shift everything you thought you knew about breaking free from ancestral patterns. This same portal that received the original wound can become the doorway through which instant liberation flows. In the next few minutes, you will understand why traditional prayers and rituals sometimes fail to break persistent family curses, while this ancient technique, known to healers for millennia but hidden from common knowledge, can dissolve decades of accumulated darkness in a single, properly performed sacred act. This is not coincidence that brings you here today. The very patterns you seek to break are the same patterns that guide you toward their own destruction. The curse carries within it the key to its own undoing. But I must warn you, this knowledge comes with responsibility. What I am about to share can be a profound blessing for those ready to receive it with pure heart and disciplined practice. For those who approach it with casual curiosity or skeptical mockery, it may deepen the very entanglements they seek to escape. Before we continue, let me ask you to honor this sacred exchange. If this resonates in your bones, if you feel the truth of ancient wisdom stirring, please subscribe to this channel. This knowledge is not found in popular spiritual books or mainstream healing circles. It lives in the margins, protected by those who understand that some truths require readiness, require sanctuary. When you subscribe, you join a circle of seekers who honor the old ways while living in the modern world. Picture, if you will, a house built upon a foundation cracked by generations of previous inhabitants. You can redecorate the rooms, replace the furniture, even rebuild the walls, but until you address that original crack in the foundation, the house will never be stable. Your navel represents that foundational point in your energetic architecture, the place where your individual life force first merged with the ancestral stream of consciousness, memory, and karma that flows through your bloodline. This is why some families seem blessed with natural abundance, while others struggle generation after generation. Why certain names carry luck, while others seem cursed with repetitive tragedy. The patterns established in those first moments of umbilical connection create energetic grooves that subsequent life experiences will follow unless consciously interrupted through precise spiritual intervention. But conventional spiritual practice often fails because it addresses symptoms rather than source. We pray for prosperity, while the energetic program for lack runs uninterrupted through our navel center. We seek protection, while the original doorway through which harm entered remains unguarded, unsealed, uncleansed. We attempt to heal our hearts, while ignoring the sacred scar that holds the memory of our first separation, not just from the womb, but from unity itself. What I witnessed in my years of spiritual service is this: those who experience instant healing, those who see generational patterns break in moments rather than decades, those who watch curses lift like morning fog, they understood, consciously or unconsciously, how to work with this primal portal of power. The technique I will share requires nothing you do not already possess. No expensive crystals, no rare herbs, no complicated rituals that take years to master. Your own hands, your own breath, your own sacred intention, and one simple element from your kitchen can become instruments of liberation more powerful than any elaborate ceremony. But the simplicity deceives. This practice demands presence, demands reverence, demands the kind of focused intention that most people reserve for life or death moments. Are you beginning to sense why this knowledge remained hidden? Not because it was forbidden, but because it requires a quality of attention that our scattered modern minds rarely cultivate. The same scattered attention that allows curses to take root is precisely what must be transformed for this technique to work. As we prepare to descend deeper into this mystery, notice what arises within you. Does your rational mind resist? Does your body tense with unfamiliar recognition? Does something ancient in your cells whisper, "Finally, the real work begins"? Each reaction carries information about your readiness to receive what comes next. Remember, your ancestors who carried these patterns were not evil people. They were often victims themselves, carrying wounds they never learned to heal, passing on protection mechanisms that became prisons, love that expressed itself as control because they knew no other way. The curse is not punishment. It is simply the spiritual equivalent of inherited trauma, encoded in the energetic equivalent of DNA, passed through the umbilical connection from one generation to the next. But just as genetic science now shows us that gene expression can be changed through conscious choice, that we are not prisoners of our inherited biology, so too can inherited spiritual patterns be interrupted and transformed through precise work with the sacred doorways of the body. Stay with me now, because what comes next will require you to set aside everything you think you know about how healing works. The technique that breaks curses instantly operates on principles that neither modern psychology nor conventional religion fully understands. Yet both ancient wisdom traditions and cutting-edge quantum physics point toward the same revolutionary truth about consciousness, intention, and the nature of inherited patterns. Are you ready to discover why your navel holds more power than your prayers? More potential than your positive thinking? More capacity for instant transformation than years of conventional therapy? Are you prepared to learn why the humblest part of your body may be the most sacred, and why what seems like simple folklore carries the keys to unlocking generational freedom? Take a deep breath into your belly now. Feel your navel rise and fall with each breath. This simple awareness is already beginning the work. Your body knows. Your body remembers. Your body is ready to reclaim its rightful role as temple, as altar, as the sacred ground where heaven and earth meet in the miracle of incarnated consciousness. Your body remembers. Your body is ready to reclaim its rightful role as temple, as altar, as the sacred ground where heaven and earth meet in the miracle of incarnated consciousness. But let me tell you something that will reshape how you see this sacred vessel you inhabit. There is a place on your body that holds the memory of your very first breath, your very first moment of separation from the eternal into the temporal. A place that modern medicine acknowledges, but modern spirituality has forgotten. A place where curses find their deepest root, and where your greatest power lies dormant, waiting. I speak of your navel, not as symbol, not as metaphor, but as the literal gateway through which your soul first encountered this material world. You see, my dear ones, when you were forming in your mother's womb, every emotion she felt, every fear she carried, every blessing and every curse that surrounded your family line, all of this flowed through that umbilical connection directly into your developing consciousness. Your navel is not just the scar of physical birth. It is the energetic memory bank of your most vulnerable becoming. Think about this for a moment. Where else on your body can you find such a perfect spiral? Where else do you see this sacred geometry that mirrors the galaxies, the shell, the very pattern of life unfolding? The ancients knew what we have forgotten. They understood that this center point was not just a place of physical nourishment, but the seat of what they called the original fire. Your personal power source, your protection center, your intuitive command post. I have witnessed this truth in thousands of souls who have crossed my path. The woman who carried her grandmother's grief in her belly, manifesting as chronic digestive issues that no doctor could explain. The man whose navel area felt perpetually cold, unknowingly holding the energetic imprint of his father's abandonment fears. The child who was born with the cord wrapped around her neck, carrying in her navel center a lifelong pattern of feeling strangled by life itself. Your navel holds the memory of your most defenseless moment, that transition from the safety of the womb into the shock of air, light, and separation. And it is precisely in this vulnerability that negative energies, curses, and inherited patterns find their entry point. They attach themselves to this tender place like parasites to an open wound, feeding off the original trauma of incarnation itself. But here is what the ancient wisdom keepers understood that we have lost. The Taoists called this area the Tan Tien, the elixir field, the place where spiritual energy is refined and stored. The Hindu traditions recognized it as the Manipura chakra's earthly anchor, the place where personal will meets cosmic force. Egyptian mystery schools taught that the navel was the sun of the body, radiating life force throughout the entire system. Why have we forgotten this? Why does every spiritual practice today focus on opening the heart, awakening the third eye, connecting to the crown, while ignoring this fundamental power center? Because, my friends, those who would keep us spiritually weak know that a person connected to their navel center cannot be easily controlled, manipulated, or cursed. Modern science is beginning to rediscover what the ancients never forgot. Researchers now understand that your belly contains what they call the enteric nervous system, a complex network of neurons so sophisticated they call it your second brain. This belly brain processes emotions, generates intuitive hunches, and responds to energetic influences completely independent of your thinking mind. Have you ever noticed how your gut feelings are always right? How when something is wrong, you feel it first in your belly? How when you're about to make a crucial decision, your stomach responds before your mind even understands what's happening. This is your navel center communicating through the forgotten language of your first breath. But there's more. When you were in the womb, floating in that perfect ocean of being, your breathing happened through your navel connection. Your first experience of life force, of prana, of the breath that connects you to the divine, all of this came through this center. Your navel remembers the rhythm of perfect trust, perfect nourishment, perfect protection. It remembers what it feels like to be completely held by the universe. And this is why curses and negative energies target this area so specifically. They know that if they can disrupt your connection to this original trust, this primal sense of being perfectly provided for, they can keep you in patterns of lack, fear, and powerlessness. They know that a person disconnected from their navel wisdom will live in their head, overthinking every decision, doubting every intuition, constantly seeking external validation instead of trusting their inner knowing. I have seen the patterns, dear ones. The way inherited family trauma lodges itself in the soft tissues around the navel. The way generational curses create a cold, empty feeling in this area. The way people who have been energetically attacked often develop digestive issues, unexplained belly pain, or a persistent sense that something is eating them from the inside. But I have also seen the miraculous healing that happens when this center is properly cleansed and reactivated. The businessman who had been struggling with decision-making for years, suddenly finding crystal clear guidance flowing from his belly wisdom. The mother who had been anxious about her children's safety, finally accessing an unshakable knowing that they were protected. The artist who had been blocked for months, discovering that her creative fire had simply been buried under layers of energetic debris in her power center. Your navel is like a sacred well. Over the years, this well gets clogged with energetic sediment, fear, doubt, inherited patterns, the psychic debris of modern living. But underneath all of that accumulation, the pure water of your original trust is still flowing. The connection to your first breath, your original blessing, your innate protection, it's all still there, waiting to be uncovered. This is why the practice I will share with you works so powerfully and so quickly. We are not adding something new to your spiritual arsenal. We are simply remembering what was always yours. We are returning to the source, to the center, to the place where your soul first learned to breathe in this earthly realm. Think about this. Every spiritual tradition teaches that true power comes from returning to source, from remembering your original nature. But where is your most literal connection to source? Where is the physical proof of your divine umbilical cord? Your navel is not just a reminder of your earthly birth. It is the sacred scar of your soul's courageous decision to embark on this human journey. When you place your awareness here, when you breathe into this center, when you work with this area intentionally, you are not just doing another spiritual practice. You are having a conversation with the part of yourself that remembers what it was like to be completely one with the source of all life. You are awakening the part of your being that knew beyond any doubt that you were wanted, that you were provided for, that you were perfectly held. And this remembering, this is what dissolves curses instantly. Because curses, you see, are nothing more than forgetting. They are the lie that you are separate, powerless, unprotected, unloved. But your navel holds the cellular memory of perfect unity, perfect power, perfect protection, perfect love. When you activate this memory, lies simply cannot coexist with truth. The practice I am about to share with you works with this forgotten language of your first breath. It speaks to the part of your nervous system that bypasses doubt and connects directly to knowing. It awakens the sun of your body, the sacred fire that burns away everything that is not essentially you. Are you ready to remember what your body has never forgotten? Are you prepared to reclaim the power center that has been yours since your first moment of earthly existence? The threads are always there, invisible to the naked eye, yet binding you with the persistence of ancient roots. When I place my hands upon the solar region of those who come to me in desperate seeking, I feel them immediately. These energetic cords that stretch not just through space, but through time itself. They pulse with the rhythm of generations, carrying forward what was never meant to be inherited, what was never yours to carry. Your navel, beloved soul, is not merely the scar of your physical birth. It is the energetic doorway through which your entire ancestral line continues to feed you its unresolved sorrows, its unexpressed rage, its unfulfilled longings. When I speak of curses, I am not speaking of theatrical pronouncements made by enemies in moments of fury. I am speaking of the invisible inheritance that flows through this sacred center like poison disguised as nourishment. Let me show you something that will shift how you understand your struggles. Place your hand now upon your navel as I speak these words. Feel the warmth that radiates outward when you focus your attention there. This warmth is not imagination. It is the recognition of your body's most vulnerable gateway, the place where life first entered you, and where unwanted energies continue to find their easiest entrance. 3 years ago, a woman came to me carrying the weight of 7 generations. She could not explain why every relationship in her life crumbled at the moment of deepest intimacy. Why money flowed away from her despite her tireless efforts. Why her children seemed marked by the same inexplicable struggles that had haunted her mother and her mother's mother before that. When I touched the region around her navel, my hands recoiled as if touching heated metal. The energetic knots there were so dense, so ancient, they had become like scar tissue of the soul. This is how family patterns perpetuate themselves through the umbilical connection that never truly severs. Your physical cord was cut at birth, yes, but the energetic umbilical cord remains active throughout your entire life. Every unhealed trauma of your maternal line, every bitter curse spoken by those who came before you, every broken promise and betrayed love, these energies seek the easiest pathway into your present reality. And that pathway runs directly through the solar center of your being. The signs are there if you know how to read them. Do you find yourself inexplicably exhausted after family gatherings, even when the interactions seemed pleasant on the surface? Does your stomach contract with anxiety when you attempt to step into greater success or happiness? Have you noticed that your deepest fears echo the whispered worries that surrounded your childhood? The ancestral anxieties that were passed down like unwanted heirlooms. Pay attention to the dreams that visit you in the hours before dawn. In those liminal moments when your conscious defenses are weakest, the ancestral energies anchored in your navel center become most active. You may find yourself dreaming of people you've never met, speaking languages you don't recognize, or experiencing emotions that feel far too ancient and vast to belong to your personal history. These are not random neurological firings. These are the voices of your energetic inheritance, speaking through the portal that connects you to the collective unconscious of your bloodline. But here's what those who speak of family curses rarely understand. Not all of these threads carry darkness. Some carry tremendous gifts. Healing abilities, intuitive knowing, creative fire that has been seeking expression through your lineage for decades or even centuries. When you learn to consciously work with your navel center, you don't simply clear away the negative influences. You also activate the dormant treasures that have been waiting for someone in your family line to finally claim them. I watched this transformation unfold before my own eyes in that woman I mentioned. As we worked together to release the energetic bindings that had been anchored in her solar center, something extraordinary began to happen. Not only did the persistent pattern of relationship sabotage begin to dissolve, but she started experiencing spontaneous moments of knowing, insights about her business that led to unexpected prosperity, intuitive flashes about her children's needs that dramatically improved their behavior and academic performance. This is the mystery that conventional healing modalities cannot touch. They address symptoms, but they cannot perceive the invisible threads that continue to feed those symptoms from the realm beyond physical sight. When I guide someone through the sacred work of navel protection and cleansing, I am not performing some exotic ritual. I am teaching them to consciously engage with the energetic umbilical cord that has been operating unconsciously their entire life. The difference between surface-level misfortune and deep ancestral binding reveals itself in the persistence and pattern of what troubles you. Surface difficulties respond to practical solutions, shift with changed circumstances, vary in their intensity and focus. But ancestral bindings, these create patterns that repeat with mechanical precision across years and decades. They create what seems like an invisible ceiling that prevents you from rising above a certain level of happiness, prosperity, or peace. Have you ever noticed that your family seems to share not just physical features, but specific types of suffering? Perhaps every woman in your maternal line struggles with the same relationship patterns, the same health challenges, the same financial limitations. Perhaps the men carry forward the same explosive anger, the same tendency toward addiction, the same inability to express vulnerable emotions. These are not coincidences. These are energetic programs running through the umbilical connection, generation after generation. The most profound realization comes when you understand that you have the power to be the one who breaks these patterns for everyone who comes after you. When you consciously cleanse and protect your navel center, You are not only freeing yourself from ancestral bondage, you are stopping the transmission of these patterns to your children and their children and their children's children. You become the healing that your entire lineage has been unconsciously seeking. But first, you must recognize the signs that these invisible threads have established permanent residence in your sacred center. There is a specific quality of exhaustion that comes not from physical exertion, but from the constant energetic drain of carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. There is a particular heaviness in the solar region that intensifies when you contemplate positive changes in your life, as if something within you actively resists your own liberation. Most telling of all is the experience of feeling simultaneously connected to and isolated from your family of origin. You love them, yet being around them leaves you feeling depleted. You want to support them, yet their energy seems to pull you back into patterns you've worked hard to escape. This is the sign that the umbilical threads are still actively transmitting the family's collective unconscious directly into your energetic system. Are you beginning to sense the invisible architecture that has been shaping your life from behind the scenes? Can you feel how the sacred geography of your body holds keys to mysteries that your mind alone could never solve? The ancient wisdom keepers understood what modern healing has forgotten, that true liberation begins with recognizing what you've been carrying that was never yours to carry. And that recognition always begins with conscious attention to the center through which all of life's energy first entered your being. Now we arrive at the threshold where knowledge transforms into sacred action. I can feel many of you leaning forward, sensing that what comes next will either illuminate your path or reveal how deeply you've misunderstood the forces moving through your life. This is the moment where theory becomes practice, where understanding becomes liberation. But first, let me share something that happened to a woman who came to me last autumn. She had tried every spiritual cleansing technique she could find online, burning sage until her house smelled like a forest fire, carrying crystals that cost more than her monthly groceries, chanting words in languages she didn't understand. Yet the heaviness around her navel only grew stronger. Why? Because she was performing rituals without understanding the sacred architecture behind them. The materials you need for this ancient practice are not exotic treasures hidden in mystical shops. They are humble gifts that have been present in human healing for thousands of years. And their power lies not in their rarity, but in their resonance with life itself. You need only 3 elements: pure sea salt, cold-pressed olive oil, and something more precious than both: your complete, undivided intention. The salt must be unrefined, still holding the memory of the ocean from which it came. This is not the processed white crystals from your kitchen table, stripped of their mineral wisdom. Sea salt carries within it the primordial waters where life first stirred, the amniotic fluid of the planet itself. When you hold it in your palm, you are connecting with every ancient sea that ever touched the shores of human consciousness. The olive oil, and this detail matters more than you might imagine, must be the first pressing, cold extracted, never heated beyond the warmth of Mediterranean sunshine. For thousands of years, olive oil has been the sacred medium through which blessing flows into matter. It carries the life force of trees that can live for 1,000 years, roots reaching deep into earth while branches stretch toward heaven. This is why kings and priests were anointed with olive oil, why it lights the eternal flames in temples across the world. But here is where most people stumble, and I want you to understand this deeply. The power of these materials is not in their chemistry alone. It is in their capacity to hold and conduct intention. They become sacred not because someone blessed them in a ceremony, but because you approach them with reverence for the mystery they represent. Now, the process itself requires precision, not because the universe is rigid, but because energy follows specific patterns, like water finding its way to the sea. Begin in the evening, as the sun sets and the veil between worlds grows thin. Create a space of silence around yourself, not just absence of sound, but presence of listening. Mix 1 teaspoon of the sea salt with 3 drops of olive oil in your palm. As you blend them, feel yourself becoming a bridge between earth and sky, between the ancient wisdom of the oceans and the eternal light of the olive grove. This mixture becomes a consecrated medium, a doorway through which healing energy can flow into your physical form. Place your hand flat against your navel, the mixture warm against your skin. Begin to move your hand in a circle, but listen carefully. The direction matters more than most people realize. Move clockwise, always clockwise, following the same direction that galaxies spiral through space, that hurricanes gather their power, that energy moves when it builds and creates, rather than when it dissolves and destroys. This clockwise motion aligns you with the fundamental creative force of the universe. You are not just moving your hand in circles. You are participating in the cosmic dance that spins planets around suns, that spirals DNA into the blueprint of life, that draws healing energy up from the earth and down from the heavens into the sacred center of your being. 7 circles, no more, no less. And with each circle, speak these words, not shouted, not whispered, but spoken with the quiet authority of someone who understands their place in the great web of existence. I release what is not mine. I reclaim what has always been mine. I am sovereign in my own sacred space. But here is the layer that separates those who experience profound transformation from those who perform empty movements. The visualization that accompanies each circular motion. As your hand traces its path around your navel, see in your mind's eye a golden sun beginning to glow beneath your palm. With each circle, this inner sun grows brighter, its warmth spreading through your entire torso, its light burning away every shadow that has no right to live within your sacred form. This is not fantasy. This is accessing the luminous body that mystics have known for millennia. You are awakening the spiritual fire that lives at your center, the same flame that sparked when you first drew breath, the eternal ember that connects you to the source of all life. I have witnessed this practice dissolve patterns that had haunted families for generations. I have seen it break energetic cords that kept people bound to toxic relationships long after they thought they had moved on. But I have also seen it fail completely when people approached it as a magical trick rather than a sacred communion. The most common mistake is rushing through the motions without allowing the deeper layers to activate. This is not about speed, it is about depth. Each circular motion should take at least 30 seconds. You are not trying to finish quickly, you are trying to sink into the mystery of what you are actually doing, consciously directing life force energy through intention and touch. Another mistake that can actually increase your vulnerability is performing the ritual while your mind churns with anger or fear. The energy you bring to this practice becomes amplified and embedded in your energy field. If you approach it while vibrating with resentment towards someone you believe has cursed you, you are essentially cursing yourself with your own emotional poison. And perhaps the most dangerous error is treating this as a one-time fix for a lifetime of energetic carelessness. This ritual creates an opening, a moment of clarity and protection. But if you immediately return to the same patterns that made you vulnerable in the first place, if you continue to absorb other people's emotions, to live in spaces that drain your vitality, to engage with people who consistently leave you feeling depleted, then you are opening the door again to what you just cleared. The golden light that you visualize during this practice is not imagination. It is recognition. You are remembering the radiance that is your birthright, the luminous essence that existed before any shadow ever touched you, that will continue to shine long after every curse has been forgotten by time itself. Can you feel how different this approach is from the scattered, desperate attempts at protection that fill most spiritual forums? This is not about defending yourself against an attacking universe. This is about remembering who you truly are beneath every layer of what you've absorbed from a world that has forgotten its own light. Stay with me as we move into the deeper mysteries of timing and lunar cycles, because what you've just learned is only the foundation of a practice that can transform not just your energy field, but your entire relationship with the invisible forces that move through your life. You see, dear soul, there is something they never teach you about the sacred practices, something that makes the difference between a ritual that transforms your life and one that barely touches the surface of your being. It is not the gesture itself, but the consciousness with which you approach it. The state of your inner world when you place your hand upon that sacred center we spoke of, your navel, determines whether you are simply going through motions or opening a portal to your deepest healing. I have watched thousands of souls attempt these practices with hurried minds and scattered hearts, wondering why the curses remain, why the shadows still cling to their energy field. They perform the movements correctly. They speak the words precisely, yet nothing shifts in the deeper layers of their existence. This is because they have forgotten the most crucial element, the preparation that turns ritual into revelation. Listen carefully to what I am about to share with you, because this knowledge has been passed down through generations of those who understood the invisible laws that govern our spiritual protection. Before you even think of approaching your sacred center, before your fingers make contact with that place where your life force flows strongest, you must prepare the garden of your consciousness. Just as a farmer prepares the soil before planting seeds, you must prepare your inner landscape to receive the healing that wants to flow through you. The first layer of this preparation is what I call the quieting of the inner storms. Your mind, precious one, is constantly generating waves of thought, emotion, worry, and distraction. These are not wrong or bad. They are simply the natural activity of a consciousness that has been conditioned to survive in a world that pulls you away from your center. But when you approach sacred practice with a mind full of tomorrow's concerns or yesterday's regrets, you are like someone trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a thunderstorm. Find yourself a space where you will not be disturbed. This does not need to be elaborate or perfect. I have seen profound healing happen in tiny apartments, in hospital rooms, even in crowded places when the inner sanctuary is properly prepared. The external space matters less than the internal one you create through your consciousness. But choose a place where you can sit comfortably, where your body can relax, where you feel some measure of safety and privacy. Now comes something that many overlook in their eagerness to begin. The sacred timing that amplifies your practice beyond what most believe possible. Your body, your energy field, your very cells move in rhythm with cycles far greater than your daily schedule. The moon that pulls the oceans also pulls the waters within you. The sun that lights the earth also kindles the fire of your life force. When you align your practice with these natural rhythms, you work with powers that existed long before human understanding tried to explain them away. The hours just before sunrise hold a particular potency for this work. In the darkness before dawn, when the world sleeps and the veils between dimensions grow thin, your energy field is most receptive to transformation. If morning is not possible, then the twilight hours, as evening deepens into night, offer similar gifts. These are the threshold times, when ordinary consciousness naturally softens and the deeper mysteries become accessible. But perhaps even more important than when you practice is how you enter the practice. Your emotional and mental state creates the container for whatever healing wants to unfold. Approach this work as you would approach a beloved friend who has been waiting patiently for your attention. There should be reverence, yes, but also warmth, gratitude, but also simplicity. You are not performing for some distant deity who judges your worthiness. You are returning home to the part of yourself that has never forgotten how to heal. Place your hands gently over your heart first, before moving them to your navel. Feel the steady rhythm there, the proof that life continues to flow through you despite every difficulty you have faced. This heartbeat has been with you since before your first breath, and it will remain until your last. It is the most reliable truth in your existence. From this place of connection to your own aliveness, speak these words, not with your voice necessarily, but with the deeper knowing that lives beneath words. I call upon the light that has always been within me. I ask for protection from all that seeks to diminish my spirit. I open myself to receive the healing that is my birthright. May all that does not serve my highest good be dissolved and transformed. May all curses, whether spoken or unspoken, whether born of others' pain or my own forgotten choices, be released from my energy field. I claim my divine right to live in peace, in health, in joy. Feel these words not as empty phrases, but as doorways opening within your consciousness. Each word carries power when spoken from genuine intention. Each phrase creates space for something new to enter your experience. Now, and this is crucial, you must recognize the resistance that may arise as you prepare to touch your sacred center. Your mind, that faithful guardian that has protected you through so many challenges, may suddenly generate doubts. This is silly, it might whisper. This won't work for someone like me. I'm not spiritual enough for this kind of thing. What if the neighbors hear me? These thoughts are not your enemy. They are simply the ego's way of protecting you from change, even positive change. The ego, you see, prefers familiar suffering to unfamiliar healing. It would rather keep you in patterns you know, even painful ones, than risk the unknown territory of transformation. When these doubts arise, do not fight them. Simply notice them with compassion, as you might notice clouds passing across the sky. Say gently to yourself, "Thank you, mind, for trying to protect me. But I am safe to heal now. I am safe to change." Sometimes the resistance appears as physical sensations, sudden tiredness, restlessness, the urge to check your phone or attend to something that seems urgent but isn't really. This too is natural. Your energy field is intelligent, and it may test your commitment to this process. Breathe through these moments. Remind yourself that every great healing requires us to move through the guardians at the threshold of transformation. The faith required for this practice is not the blind belief that some imagine when they hear the word. It is something far more practical and grounded. It is the same faith you have when you plant a seed in dark soil, trusting that something invisible will work to bring forth new life. You cannot see the processes happening beneath the surface, but you trust them because you have witnessed their fruits countless times. Your body knows how to heal. Your energy field knows how to restore itself to wholeness. Your spirit knows how to release what no longer serves. The faith I speak of is simply your willingness to trust these natural capacities that have been operating within you all along. You are not asking for magic from outside yourself. You are awakening the magic that has always been your birthright. As you prepare to place your hand upon your navel, remember that you are touching a place that connects you to the source of life itself. This is where you were first nourished in your mother's womb. This is where your breath originates and returns. This is the center of your personal power, the place where your will to live burns brightest. The preparation I have shared with you creates the sacred space where true healing becomes possible. In the next part of our journey together, I will reveal the specific timing that turns this simple practice into something that can shift years of accumulated darkness in moments. The lunar cycles hold secrets that most have forgotten, but which remain as powerful today as they were in the ancient temples where these mysteries were first preserved. The moon remembers what our hearts have forgotten. And in these sacred moments, when we align with her ancient rhythms, the language of liberation begins to speak through our very flesh and bones. You see, dear soul, when we perform this sacred work upon the navel, when we honor the ancient wisdom that flows through salt and intention, our body becomes a living oracle, speaking to us in whispers that most have learned to ignore. But you who have chosen to walk this path of awakening, you must learn to read these sacred signs, for they are the breadcrumbs that lead you home to your own power. In my years of witnessing the invisible threads that bind and release humanity, I have observed that liberation never arrives in silence. No, it announces itself through a symphony of sensations, through shifts in the very fabric of reality around you. And those who know how to read these signs become the authors of their own freedom. The first language of liberation speaks through your physical temple. Within moments of beginning this practice, many feel what can only be described as a gentle warmth blooming from the navel center outward. This is not imagination, dear one. This is the ancient fire of your life force responding to the call of freedom. Some describe it as golden honey flowing through their veins. Others as a gentle electrical current awakening pathways that have long been dormant. But here is what most do not understand. This warmth is the energetic signature of negative attachments being dissolved. When curses and envious energies have nested in your energy field for months or years, they create a kind of spiritual coldness, a numbness that you may have grown so accustomed to that you forgot what vitality feels like. The returning warmth is your birthright, claiming its rightful place. Others speak of tingling sensations, as if tiny stars were dancing beneath their skin. This is the nervous system recalibrating itself as it releases the tension patterns that held trauma and negativity in place. Your body, in its infinite wisdom, is literally rewiring itself for joy, for abundance, for the life you were meant to live. And then there are the emotional releases. Tears that seem to come from nowhere, laughter that bubbles up without reason, or sometimes a profound sense of peace that settles over you like a warm blanket on a cold night. Do not resist these moments, beloved. They are sacred. They are the sound of prison doors opening, the feeling of weights you didn't even know you were carrying being lifted from your shoulders. But the signs of liberation extend far beyond the boundaries of your skin. Within the first 21 days of consistent practice, pay close attention to the shifting tapestry of your external world. This is where skeptics become believers, where doubt transforms into knowing. You may notice that people who once drained your energy suddenly seem unable to reach you, not through any effort on your part, but as if an invisible shield has formed around your life. Phone calls that used to disturb your peace simply don't come.
toxic relationships begin to naturally fade, sometimes without drama, sometimes without explanation. This is not coincidence. This is the universe responding to your elevated vibration by removing what no longer serves your highest good. Opportunities that seemed impossible before begin to present themselves. A job opening appears exactly when you need it. Someone mentions exactly the information you've been seeking. Doors that were once locked begin to swing open as if moved by an invisible hand. This is what happens when we remove the energetic blocks that were preventing our natural good fortune from flowing to us. Watch, too, for the subtle synchronicities that pepper your days. Numbers that repeat themselves wherever you look. Songs on the radio that speak directly to your heart. Conversations overheard that contain exactly the message you needed. These are not random events, dear soul. They are the universe's way of confirming that you are moving in alignment with your highest path. Your dream world becomes a theater of transformation. Some report vivid dreams of light pushing away darkness, of old wounds being healed by gentle hands, of flying free from situations that once held them captive. Others dream of water, cleansing rain, flowing rivers, ocean waves washing away the debris of the past. These dreams are not mere symbols. They are literal representations of the energetic clearing taking place in dimensions beyond the physical eye. Pay attention to the quality of your sleep itself. Many discover that rest comes more easily, that the mind chatter that once kept them awake begins to quiet. This is because worry and anxiety are often symptoms of carrying energetic burdens that don't belong to us. When those burdens are released, natural peace returns. But perhaps the most profound sign of liberation shows itself in your relationships. As negative attachments dissolve, you begin to attract people who resonate with your true essence, rather than your wounded patterns. Old friends may drift away, but new connections appear that nourish your soul in ways you forgot were possible. Family dynamics that once felt impossible begin to shift. Even those who remain challenging in your life somehow lose their power to disturb your inner equilibrium. This is why, dear one, I must emphasize that this practice is not a one-time miracle cure. It is sacred maintenance for your energetic temple. Just as you would not expect to bathe once and remain clean forever, you cannot expect to clear negative influences once and remain protected indefinitely. The world we live in constantly exposes us to energetic pollution, the envy of strangers, the unconscious projections of those in pain, the collective fears that move through humanity like invisible storms. All of these seek to attach themselves to those who carry light. And you, simply by choosing to heal, by choosing to rise, by choosing to live authentically, become a beacon that attracts both blessings and challenges. This is why the ancients built their spiritual practices around consistency rather than intensity. Better to offer this simple ritual to your navel center 3 times each week for a lifetime than to perform it once with great ceremony and then forget. The salt and intention become like a protective garden around your life force, constantly tended, constantly renewed. I have witnessed souls transform their entire existence through nothing more than this gentle, consistent practice. Marriages saved from the edge of destruction. Businesses that bloomed after years of struggle. health challenges that mysteriously resolved, children who found peace after months of unexplained distress. But here is the secret that separates those who experience lasting transformation from those who see only temporary relief. It is the quality of presence you bring to each moment of practice. When you place that salt upon your navel, you are not simply following a recipe. You are participating in a sacred conversation with forces that existed long before your birth and will continue long after your physical form returns to dust. If you feel called to share this wisdom with someone who has been struggling with inexplicable difficulties, trust that instinct. Sometimes we are the angels sent to deliver exactly the key someone needs to unlock their prison. And if you've experienced your own signs of liberation through this practice, honor us all by sharing your story in the comments below. Your testimony becomes a lighthouse for others lost in similar storms. In our next journey together, we will explore the profound connection between this ancient practice and the cycles that govern not just our planet, but the very rhythm of manifestation itself. There are specific times when this work becomes exponentially more powerful, and I will share with you the lunar secrets that can amplify your results beyond what you thought possible. Now that you have learned to cleanse and awaken this sacred center, we must speak of something far more critical: how to keep it protected. Because what good is unlocking the power within your navel if you cannot maintain its strength? What value is there in breaking curses if you allow new ones to take root the very next day? In my years of seeing beyond the veil,
I have witnessed too many souls who discovered their power only to lose it again through neglect. They cleaned their sacred center once and believed the work was finished. But protection, my dear ones, is not a single act. It is a way of being. Your navel is not just a point on your body. It is a doorway, a portal through which life force flows in and out of your being. And like any doorway, it must be guarded. The ancient ones knew this. They understood that this center, once awakened, becomes both your greatest strength and your most vulnerable point. Let me share with you the daily practices that will keep your sacred center intact. Each morning, before you speak to another soul, before you consume anything, before you allow the world to touch your energy, place your right hand over your navel. Feel the warmth there. Breathe 3 deep breaths directly into this space. As you breathe, imagine a golden spiral of light beginning to form beneath your palm. This spiral grows with each breath, creating a protective shield that will guard you throughout the day. But morning protection is only the beginning. Throughout your day, you must remain aware. You must learn to recognize when someone or something is attempting to drain your power through this very center. The signs are subtle at first. A sudden heaviness in your stomach when certain people approach. An unexplained exhaustion after spending time in specific places. A pulling sensation as if something invisible is tugging at your core. I have seen this countless times in my visions. Energy vampires, they walk among us, often unknowingly. They are drawn to those whose navel centers burn bright with life force. They cannot help themselves.
They gravitate toward your power like moths to flame. Some do this consciously, through envy and ill intention. Others do it unconsciously, simply because they are so depleted themselves. Watch for the person who always needs to stand too close to you. Notice how your energy shifts when they are near. Pay attention to those who seem to gain vitality while you lose yours during conversations. These are not coincidences. These are energetic transactions happening through your sacred center. When you recognize such drainage occurring, there is a powerful visualization you must employ immediately. Close your eyes if you can, or simply soften your gaze. Imagine your navel surrounded by a sphere of brilliant white light. This light is not merely bright, it is impenetrable. Nothing can pass through it without your conscious permission. See this sphere expanding, creating a boundary around your entire core. Feel how this protection makes you untouchable to those who would steal your essence. But visualization alone is not enough. Your daily choices, what you consume and how you live, these things either strengthen or weaken your energetic portal. The foods you eat directly affect the power of your sacred center. Heavy processed foods create density and blockage. They slow the natural flow of energy through your navel, making it harder to maintain protection. Instead, choose foods that carry life force. Fresh fruits picked at the peak of ripeness, vegetables grown in healthy soil, clean water that has not been stripped of its natural minerals. These foods do not merely nourish your body, they feed the energetic center within your navel, keeping it vibrant and strong. There are specific foods that create particular strength in this region. Ginger root, consumed regularly, keeps the energy moving and prevents stagnation. Turmeric cleanses and purifies the energetic pathways. Seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, these contain the life force potential of entire plants. When you consume them with intention, they transfer this creative power to your sacred center. But it is not only what you eat, it is how you eat. Each meal should be consumed with awareness. Place your hand over your navel before eating. Thank the food for its life force. Eat slowly, feeling how the energy of the food integrates with the energy of your sacred center. This simple practice transforms every meal into a ritual of strengthening. Your sleep patterns also affect the integrity of your navel center. When you sleep in a room that faces east, your sacred center aligns with the rising sun each dawn, drawing strength from this cosmic energy. Keep salt under your bed, not for superstition, but because salt naturally absorbs negative energies that might otherwise penetrate your defenses while you sleep. The clothes you wear matter more than you realize. Tight belts that constrict your waist create energetic blockages. Synthetic fabrics that do not breathe can trap stagnant energy around your sacred center. Choose natural fibers when possible. Allow your waist area to remain free and comfortable. Your navel must be able to expand and contract with your breath without restriction. But there are warning signs you must learn to recognize. Signs that your protection needs renewal or strengthening. Sudden digestive issues without physical cause often indicate energetic disturbance in your navel center. Nightmares that focus on being chased or attacked frequently point to compromised protection around your core. Unexplained mood swings, particularly waves of anger or fear that seem to come from nowhere, these can signal that your sacred center is under spiritual attack. When you notice these signs, do not ignore them. Act immediately. Return to the cleansing practice I taught you earlier, but this time add an extra layer. After cleansing, create a circle of sea salt around yourself. Sit in the center of this circle with your hands on your navel. Speak aloud. I reclaim my sacred center. I restore my spiritual protection. No force may enter here without my permission. Feel the truth of these words resonating through your core. If someone you trust can assist you, ask them to help strengthen your protection. Have them stand behind you and place their hands on your shoulders while you focus on your navel. Their energy can amplify your own protective visualization, creating a stronger shield than you could build alone. Remember, maintaining protection is not about living in fear. It is about living in wisdom. A house with strong locks is not built from paranoia. It is built from understanding that valuable things require protection. Your sacred center, your life force, your spiritual power, these are among the most valuable things you possess. The moon cycles affect the strength of your protection as well. During the new moon, your defenses may feel weaker, requiring extra attention and reinforcement. During the full moon, your protective energy runs strongest, making this an ideal time to perform deeper shielding work that will last through the coming weeks. Create a weekly ritual of protection renewal. Choose one day each week to focus entirely on strengthening your navel center's defenses. Use this time to cleanse not only your sacred center, but your living space, your clothes, even your thoughts. Everything that surrounds you contributes to the strength or weakness of your spiritual protection. And here is something most will never tell you. Your protection grows stronger each time you use it consciously. Each time you recognize an energetic threat and shield yourself, you build spiritual muscle. Each time you cleanse and protect your sacred center, you increase its natural resilience. This is why consistent practice matters so much more than occasional intense efforts. The most powerful protection of all comes from alignment with your highest purpose. When your navel center is not just clean and protected, but actively serving your soul's mission in this lifetime, it becomes nearly invulnerable. Negative forces struggle to attach to energy that is flowing in service to divine will. This is why I always ask, what is your sacred center meant to create? What is trying to be born through you? When you know this and align your daily actions with this purpose, your protection becomes automatic, natural, unbreakable. In our final section together, I will reveal the ultimate secret: how to transform your protected sacred center into a source of blessing that extends far beyond your own life. And now, as we come to the sacred threshold of understanding, I must speak to you of something that moves beyond the personal, beyond the individual healing we've been exploring together. There is a reason, dear soul, why this ancient knowledge is surfacing now in this precise moment of humanity's journey. Nothing in the cosmos unfolds by accident, and your presence here, receiving these words, is part of a much grander tapestry being woven. I have watched, through my sight that pierces the veils of time, as humanity approaches what I can only call the Great Remembering. For centuries, we have walked in the shadows of our own power, believing ourselves to be victims of forces beyond our control. We have carried curses like chains, passed them down like heirlooms of suffering, accepting darkness as our inheritance. But the time of forgetting is drawing to a close. When I place my hands upon the earth, I feel the vibration of millions of souls stirring awake. They are reaching for something they cannot quite name, a memory buried deep in their cellular wisdom, a knowing that whispers of their true nature. You are part of this awakening. The fact that you have been drawn to this knowledge, that your spirit recognized the truth in these ancient practices, marks you as one of those who came here to remember. The technique I have shared with you, this sacred work with the Naval Center, is not merely a tool for personal protection. It is a key that unlocks humanity's return to its authentic power. Each time you place your finger upon this sacred point and speak words of liberation, you are not only freeing yourself, you are contributing to a great healing that extends far beyond your individual experience. In my visions, I see threads of light connecting those who practice these ancient ways. They form a luminous web across the earth, and through this web, healing travels. When you break a curse that has haunted your family line for generations, that liberation ripples outward, touching souls you will never meet in lives you cannot imagine. The grandmother who died in sorrow, the child who cried himself to sleep under the weight of inherited darkness, they all feel the moment of your freedom. This is why the knowledge comes to you now, in this age when the old ways are dying and the new world struggles to be born. We stand at a crossroads where humanity must choose between continuing the cycles of unconscious suffering or stepping into conscious co-creation with the divine forces. The technique I have taught you is part of this choosing. It is a declaration that you will no longer be a passive recipient of misfortune, but an active participant in your own blessing. But with this knowledge comes sacred responsibility. The power to break curses, to cleanse your energy field, to align with protective forces. This is not a toy to be played with or knowledge to be shared carelessly. There are those who would use such wisdom for manipulation, who would twist these sacred practices to serve their ego
rather than their highest good. This is why these teachings have been hidden, protected within mystery schools, and passed down through lineages of dedicated seekers. When you share this knowledge, and I encourage you to do so, share it as a gardener shares seeds, with careful attention to the soil where they will be planted. Look for the hunger in someone's eyes, the readiness in their questions, the desperation born of genuine seeking rather than idle curiosity. The person whose life is falling apart despite their best efforts, the mother whose children seem to carry some invisible burden, the man who feels pursued by misfortune no matter where he travels. These are the souls ready to receive what you have learned. I have seen in my visions how this knowledge spreads, not through grand proclamations or forceful evangelizing, but through quiet example and compassionate sharing. One healed soul touches another, and that healing spreads like ripples on still water. The person whose chronic anxiety disappears after working with their navel center becomes a living testament to the power of these practices. Their peaceful presence alone begins to heal others around them. As more souls reclaim their sacred power, as more people learn to work directly with the energetic reality that underlies all physical experience, humanity itself begins to shift. The collective field that has been polluted by centuries of fear, hatred, and unconscious curse-making begins to clear. New possibilities emerge that were unthinkable when we lived under the spell of our own limitations. This is why you must guard this knowledge while also sharing it wisely. Protect it from those who would commercialize it, cheapen it, or use it to gain power over others. But do not hoard it out of fear. The earth needs healers now, needs those who can work directly with the invisible forces that shape our reality. You have been called to be one of these healers, whether you recognize it or not. Each time you practice this technique, each time you place your finger upon your navel and speak words of liberation, you cast a vote for humanity's awakening. You declare that the age of unconscious suffering is ending, that human beings are ready to take conscious responsibility for the energy they carry and create. This is revolutionary work, though it appears deceptively simple. I want you to understand the profound gift you have received here. Many lifetimes pass without souls encountering knowledge of this depth and simplicity. Many seekers spend decades in meditation caves or ashrams without accessing the direct energetic tools I have shared with you today. The fact that this wisdom has come to you now, in this form, at this moment in your life and in humanity's evolution, is no small thing. You may feel the weight of this responsibility, and that is appropriate, but do not let it become a burden. The divine forces that work through us are infinitely patient, infinitely compassionate. They do not ask of us perfection, only willingness. Your sincere practice, your genuine intention to heal and be healed, your commitment to walking in alignment with your highest good, this is enough. The rest unfolds naturally in divine timing. As we close this sacred time together, I offer you a blessing that I see written in the stars themselves. May the light that has been kindled within you through this knowledge burn steady and bright. May it illuminate your path
and cast warmth upon all those whose lives you touch. May you carry the protection of the ancient ones, the guidance of the wise ones, and the love of the eternal source that beats within your own heart. Remember the simple power of your finger upon your navel, the ancient words of liberation, the breath that carries intention into manifestation. Remember that you are not alone in this work, that millions of souls across the earth are awakening to their true nature and reclaiming their sacred power. Together, we are writing a new chapter in humanity's story, one of conscious healing, deliberate blessing, and joyful co-creation with the forces of light. Go now, carrying this knowledge like a flame in your heart. Practice it daily, share it wisely, and trust that your personal liberation is a gift not only to yourself, but to all of humanity. The curses end here with you in this moment. Through your conscious choice to break the chains and step into your power. The future is bright, dear soul. The future is protected. The future is blessed.